Welcome to Take 5 for Torah. Today is July 31st. It is the 6th of Av, and today is Devarim, and we usually on Thursday discuss some element of the Parsha, and Devarim introduces a terminology that we never saw yet in the Torah, and amazingly we're going to hear 13 times in Sefer Devarim. The terminology is Kol Yisrael. These are the words that Moshe spoke, El Kol Yisrael. We are now becoming all of Israel, a unit. Perhaps those two words introduce one of the most famous lines that we recognize, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. Every Jew is considered to be part of an entire unit. The Rosh actually in Maseches Brachos explains why, even though I already made Kiddush, that I can fulfill someone else's Kiddush. But that doesn't make sense. I am no longer obligated in Kiddush. I already fulfilled my din of Kiddush. How can someone not obligated fulfill the obligation of someone who is obligated? The answer is a beautiful point that is exemplary of Kol Yisrael. Because as long as there's any Jew who didn't do even the mitzvah I already did, as long as there's any Jew, then there's a piece of me that didn't do the mitzvah. Because we're all the same body, Kiviyochel, right? If he didn't do the mitzvah, there's a piece of me that didn't do the mitzvah. It's beautiful. It sounds like the Yerushalmi in the Darim that says that if the left hand, let's say, is slicing an apple and it slices a little piece of the finger on the right hand, with the right hand take the knife and then get even and say, got your back, and slice a piece of the finger of the left hand? Of course not. We're all one body, each and every one of us, because we are Kol Yisrael. And this introduces the book that Chazal call the Mishneh Torah, words that appear in this Sefer. Mishneh Torah, which is translated in Latin as Deuteronomy, the second repeated part of Torah. But of course, there are many mitzvahs that are not found earlier in the Torah. Barbanel and some other, even in Yerushalmi Shkolim, seems to hint that even new mitzvahs that we didn't hear about before are somehow referenced between the lines or somehow hinted earlier in the Torah. Right? The Torah did not speak about divorce, but it did speak about the Isha Sota. How can we have the Sota without the possibility of divorce? Right? The Torah does not mention benching earlier in the Torah, but it does mention certain other types of blessings. So this is the point, is that even the new blessings might have some references earlier. And there are a lot of changes between Devarim and earlier in the Torah. For instance, earlier in the Torah it says, pay your workers on time, make sure you pay them by the end of the day. And in the Pasuk in Devarim it says, pay your workers on time, make sure you pay them by the end of the night. Well, which one is it? So the Gemara says it depends on what kind of worker he is. If it's a day worker, you have till the end of the night to pay him. If it's a night worker, you have the end of the day to pay him. You have to come up with the money for some time. So this is the how we understand Sefer Devarim. It might have some repetitions, some omissions. There are never any references to the general laws of Karbanot. There are certainly certain sacrifices and a reference to a central place where we bring the sacrifices. But we don't have the repetition. Since the Kohanim are very careful and punctilious about their observances, they don't need that repetition. Be it as it may, in Parshas Devarim itself, there is a glaring change between what's written earlier in the Torah and what's written here. Earlier in the Torah, we learn about Yisro, who saw his son-in-law Moshe just standing over the people all day, and people are standing in line, and he's Navol Tibol, and he's Dildik, and he doesn't know what to do. And Yisro advises him to get help, to get people to stand in to Sarei Alafim, Sarei Meos, people to stand in for different kinds of cases. And Moshe takes the advice, and all is well. In the beginning of Devarim, Moshe speaks about how all of your arguments and all of your litigation is causing me great consternation. And Moshe is so upset about this that we can sense it, that we read these verses in Echatrop. We even manipulate the aliyahs for the first and second aliyahs, so we don't start the second aliyah with this pasuk. What's so terrible about it, Yisro's advice that Moshe reads in Eichatrup? And furthermore, Moshe doesn't give Yisro a shout out in the beginning of Devarim. Perhaps we can answer that Moshe is referring to something else. Not stam court cases like Moshe told Yisro they want to know about the halacha, they want to know about God, they want to know even philosophy, they're asking me questions. It's not that. It's torchachem umasachem v'rivchem. You have to remember, their clothing grew on them, their mun fell for them, their water followed them, they had very few needs. And still they were litigious and they argued with one another. That gave Moshe a pain in the neck, if you will. And that's why we read it with Eichatrup. And that's one of many, many differences between Devarim and the rest of Torah. And there was always a mitzvah upon us. Usually Rashi will help us with that. It's a mitzvah upon us to look for those solutions and to resolve them as we just did.